I have a goal to help make 1,000 underrepresented people millionaires over the next decade. And that means helping you go from 0 to 1 million. Because since going from being homeless to launching a multi-million-dollar venture fund, I've learned that the skills needed to become a millionaire can be taught. That's what this video is about. The first thing I learned is that almost anyone can be a millionaire. Almost anyone can be a millionaire. When I go on these book stops for my new book, Your First Million, I'll usually ask the room, how many people believe they can be a millionaire? And do you know that usually only half the room raises their hand? And I ask them, if they're not raising their hand, why didn't you raise your hand? And most of them will say, it just seems so far away. It just seems so far away from what I know and what I've done in the past, or what anyone I know has done before. And what I've learned after talking to so many millionaires and working with so many is that, believe me, if you're watching this video, you can be a millionaire. There is no genius millionaire that I have met, at least, that has figured out something that the rest of us can't figure out, right? The second thing I learned about millionaires is that the skills needed to become a millionaire can actually be taught. Now, that's something I didn't know for most of my life, is that it's not all about luck. It's not all about being born into a legacy of wealth. It's not all about who you know or who you are. It's about dissecting the hundreds, the thousands, and the millions of millionaires that are in the world and figuring out what they did to get there, and then distilling that into a step-by-step process. It's why I started my new course, YourFirstMillion.pro. It's a masterclass and very accessible because I want so many people to be able to go to it. And if you go to that website, YourFirstMillion.pro, I guide you step by step, 0 to 1,000, 1,000 to 10,000, 10,000 to 100,000. Because over the last decade, I've gone from sleeping on the floor of the San Francisco airport to generating millions of dollars and raising tens of millions of dollars for my venture fund, Backstage Capital. And I've learned so much, distilled it down to just a few steps that you can take where anybody can learn the skills needed. Now, here's why everybody's not a millionaire. Because sure, I can teach you, but most people won't act on it. They'll read it or watch videos or watch a video like this, and they'll get inspired or find something to be interesting or compelling, and then they'll simply stop. They won't go further. The people who act on it, the people who take the risk and take the chances and experiment and listen to these top things, those are the people who go on to greatness. And I know that you can be one of those people. The third thing that I learned about millionaires is that millionaires own things. Yeah, I know, it sounds simple, but it's true. Millionaires own things. They own property, they own businesses, they own their own IP, intellectual property. That is how they stack their wealth and how they create generational wealth. One of the things that I make sure to do is anytime I enter into a partnership that has to do with me maybe hosting a podcast or starting and working on some sort of movie or television show, I do not just get paid as talent or a host. I make sure that I have ownership of the IP, because that is where the true money and the wealth lies. Entrepreneurship is another major example of this. This is why I care so much about helping to create 1,000 new millionaires. If you can't find the answer, you have to have enough respect for yourself and other people to pivot into something that might be similar and tangential to this, but not the exact same thing. Entrepreneurship is our leveling ground. It is a way for most people to make a lot of money. Now, of course, it doesn't happen overnight, and there are multiple steps to it and multiple variables to it. And it is not a get-rich-quick scheme. But entrepreneurship is so powerful, and it's something that all of us have access to. The fourth thing I learned about millionaires is that millionaires collaborate. What I mean by that is they partner. I know some very, very wealthy men who fight with each other. They have their lawyers get into rooms and they sue each other and they fight and they negotiate and they claw at each other. But they go to lunch or dinner or to a golf club or out to a concert and they hang out. because they're truly partnered and hanging out and friendly while they let their high-paid attorneys figure everything else out. So they'll go to those lengths just to collaborate with someone. If you think about Warren Buffett and Charlie Munger and so many people that you know, who you respect, they either have a partner who is well known or someone in the shadows who they work with, they value their opinion, they collaborate with. That is a trait of a millionaire. Most of the millionaires I know have at least one person that they trust and they collaborate with. So who's that person for you? Another way they collaborate is to partner with different people. So this is something big. Like if you think about Rachel Rogers, Danielle Leslie, Terry Ijeoma, Tiffany, the Budgetnista, these are people who collaborate with each other. They partner with each other. They partner with me. We have friendly partnerships that sometimes result in multi-million-dollar transactions because you're taking two very strong audiences, two very strong brands, and you're combining them on a project, and you have 2x'd, at least 2x'd, and sometimes it's multiplied. I'll tell you what, when I introduce people on email, in the subject line, I don't say this person plus this person or this person and those little inverted things there. I say that person's name X the other person, because I think about partnerships as multiplicative, not just additive. That's the millionaire mindset. Okay, there's one more on the list, but before I get to it, make sure you subscribe below and turn on those notifications so that you don't miss a video and that I can help you become one of the 1,000 new millionaires I want to help create and catalyze over the next decade. Okay, the fifth thing I've learned about millionaires is that millionaires have learned to value their time rather than simply price their time. They're not paid by the hour. How do you get paid by the hour and become a millionaire in most cases? Instead, what they've learned to do is to place a value on their very existence, to be paid for existing. The first time I learned this was when I was paid $50,000 to speak. So if you remember correctly, a few years ago, I was sleeping on the floor of the San Francisco airport. I was broke. I didn't make more than $5,000 in a year for most of those years leading up to it. And sometimes I would hit 20,000, but most times it was 5,000 or 10,000. So to be paid $50,000 to speak for 45 minutes was life altering. And to do that multiple times, well, you can imagine. So someone asked me, how on earth did you get paid $50,000 for 45 minutes of your time? And I told them I didn't get paid $50,000 for 45 minutes of my time. I got paid $50,000 for 40 years of my time, for 40 years of lived experience, of lessons learned, of putting out good energy into the world, planting seeds, stacking my skills, using those skills for good, and then learning how to communicate what I'd learned. That's what they were paying me for. They were paying me for my existence. And that's a major thing I've learned about millionaires, both talking to them and working with them and now becoming one, is that you value your time. You do not price your time. I hope this has been helpful to you, and I'll see you in the next video.